it's fair to say that with the bad start that we've endured to the season, that David Moyes' tenureship as West Ham manager is coming under scrutiny. However, could it possibly be that a big part of the problem isn't on the bench? Could it be that part of the problem is actually on the pitch, hidden in plain sight? Declan Rice this season has been wearing the captain's armband, and yes, he's worn the captain's armband for the previous 2 seasons by and large. However, in the background was Mark Noble, the club captain, and Mark Noble still would have been assuming a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities of a club captain, even if Mark Noble never actually took to the pitch. This season, however, Mark Noble is no longer part of West Ham United, so all of the responsibilities of a club captain have now fallen completely on the shoulders of Declan Rice. And obviously it's become apparent in the last couple of days that aligned with this new role within the club, Declan Rice also has the added responsibility of parenthood. He has become the father for a first time. I'm a father of 3, and I can remember when I became a father, and I actually became a father of twins 19 years ago, and that was a real shock to my system. Now, I can therefore relate and understand that there's an awful lot going on in the life of Declan Rice, both professionally and personally. Is it possible that the weight of the captaincy, the burden of captaincy, and the burden of fatherhood has all come at the same time, and that perhaps Declan Rice is not currently up to the job, up to the responsibility of club captaincy? Should we possibly be looking elsewhere for someone to have the armband? Well, it's an interesting question, and you may or may not have a particular standpoint on it. If you do, there is a comment section below. Please get stuck into it. For now, we've got a couple of contributors that want to give their particular answer to this question. Is the captaincy too big a responsibility at this current moment in time for Declan Rice?
Should Declan Rice be West Ham's captain for this season? 100% he should be. We're talking about the best player at our club. We're talking about one of the best players in the league. We're talking about a leader on the park. We've seen it through several seasons of him being with our club that he is a natural born leader. He's been guided by our former captain Mark Noble. He's had some form of captaincy role last season, and he's coming in and he's taken the mantelpiece. He's taken over from Mark Noble. He is more than capable of doing it. I have absolute belief in him doing it. Don't underestimate something though. Don't underestimate something. Having a baby is game changing, is life changing, and if you're going to be a proactive father, like it looks like Declan Rice is going to be, that's going to have a transitional effect on him. He's going to have to transition into what's happening at home and what's happening on the football field, and I think he's more than capable of doing that. West Ham are going through a lot of transitions right now, and we have to be patient if we believe in the Moyes project. And the Moyes project is, let's give Declan Rice the keys to this team. Let him be the captain. Let him dominate on the field, dominate off the field, give guidance to the teammates. He's young, he's going to make mistakes, but we have to back him 100%. And nothing better than backing him is giving someone who does visually talk on the field, maybe not so much in the last 2 games, but he does talk a lot on the field. He does guide the team, he does drive them forward, and it's a transitional period for him. So for me, Declan Rice being West Ham captain is a no-brainer. I don't think it's anything to do with trying to keep him happy or anything. It's a simple transition, and he's got to transition with his personal life onto the park and make a big difference on that park. But for me, 100% Declan Rice. Back the team. Come on, you Irons.
Morning, everyone. Andy, just answering the question here from Falls Your Mind. Should Declan Rice be captain of West Ham United? In my opinion, he should be. I know, me included, gave him a lot of stick to the start of the season. For me, obviously, the rumours circulating, which I think was actually the morning of the game, of the Brighton game, of obviously Declan Rice just recently becoming a father. I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just trying to figure out why he isn't at his game. But I don't know if anyone who hasn't, but I think it's a good watch if it isn't. He recently appeared on Tubes from Soccer AM's golf channel, where he done 9 holes, and he was obviously talking about his West Ham career, blah blah blah, etc. And he was obviously talking about Mark Noble, what influence he had. The way Declan saw it was he was just the team captain last season, so Mark Noble was still doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. For example, talking to David Moyes. He said he's even having to attend meetings now with other Premier League captains, etc. For me, I think Declan has got the capabilities to be what he is, but I don't think it is a coincidence, the fact that since Stuart Pearce and Mark Noble has dented our dressing room, in my opinion. I just feel partly to blame is David Moyes, but I think it's the team as well. I think the team should take a long, hard look at themselves, and I think it was Duke who sort of said it yesterday on their match review. It seems that the players don't take it to Declan as a captain, and I find that very, very strange considering his qualities and how successful we have been over the past 2 seasons or so. Like when we go a goal behind, we've lost that mentality where we think we can get back into the game. For example, Chelsea last season at home. But as soon as that goal went in on Sunday, I couldn't see us coming back, and that's not just because of our record against Brighton. If you look at Man City, unfit, not organised, and bear in mind Man City had a less pre-season than what we did. They had 2 weeks and played 3 games. Don't get me wrong, they lost the Community Shield, but they've had less games. Nottingham Forest, you can say we are unlucky any other given day. That goes in. But I think Declan's taken too much responsibility. He tried to take the penalty at Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately, he missed. That's the life of a football player. But for me, he shouldn't be the penalty taker. I think if you take that away from him, I think that will be better as well. But no, answering the question, should he be captain? I 100% agree. The one thing what you can't say, I understand his interview, what he done when he said we're not a Man City, we're not going to win the league. And to be honest, he's right. But I think it's not just Declan. I think it's a lot of players. David Moyes at the end of last season said the team is stale, and he's continuing with that style. That's like trying to make bread. What's gone off a month later, it's not going to turn into toast, is it? So, but for me, Declan's a class act, a very class act, and rightly he's got a lot of stick, but he is one of the best players in the Premier League still, in my opinion. And Aston Villa is a must-win game. I've never thought I'd be saying this early on in the season. If we don't get 3 points on Sunday, well, even a draw is not ideal. But if we don't get a win going into Chelsea and Tottenham, we could be in trouble. But the positives I will take, I think Cornet and Scamacca, Flynn Downs, obviously he's a West Ham fan. Areola's been there last season. Aguerd, you've seen him, even though he's only featured him in the training videos. Emerson, I think he will be another great addition. So when you start moulding them players in, I think once the changes happen. But for Declan, I think he just needs to make his mind up. I think if we could get another box-to-box midfield player, I think we'll see a totally different Declan Rice. I think he would sit there and go forward when he can, because he can't express himself at the moment. And Thomas Soucek is such out of form. But the answer to my question, should Declan Rice be captain? 100% he should. And hopefully we've had a bad start. Tottenham had a bad start a few years ago. Arsenal lost their first, was it 4 or 3 games last season as well? And what a perfect way to start back obviously the game on Thursday and then on Sunday. Take care, everyone, and come on, you Irons.
Good morning all, Steve 50 here. A quick video for Gatesy. He's asked me to give my thoughts on whether Declan Rice should be captain or not. Now, that's a really interesting question, because the games I've seen, and the one live game I've seen, is Dex not really pushing the team along. He's not doing the noble thing and getting in everybody's faces and saying, come on, it's got to be better. Now, I think Deck was a brilliant on-field captain when Nobes was in the background doing the other stuff. But suddenly that job has got a lot bigger. And I can think about various other great players who were made captains, and they just lost all their form. Notably, Ian Botham, when he was made England cricket captain. Brilliant cricketer, but his form just dropped away. And some people who are brilliant players just aren't suited to be captain. So, for instance, when Nick Faldo took over the Ryder Cup team, we were on a hugely winning streak, and though he did a decent job, it wasn't good enough to retain the Ryder Cup. So, being a good player doesn't make you a good captain. Having said that, I think if Deck's going to continue, and I'd like him to continue, he's going to need support. What I would do is I'd put in a few very strong vice captains around him to take some of that responsibility away from him. Do some of the role Noble was going to do. So I'm thinking here about Bonner. He'd be excellent as a vice captain. You can see on the pitch he's a leader. Craig Dawson, another great leader. Get him some really good vice captains around him to support him, because at the end of the day, he is a young man. He's just had his first child, and there is an awful lot going on in his life, and the added pressure of being club captain is possibly too much. I don't think he should stop being club captain, but what I would like to see is some thought about putting, as I said before, some really good people around him, just to take some of the workload, just to take some of the responsibility off. Because when you're doing it under Noble's tutelage, I mean, you've got a captain there who is to the manner born. He's been with the team for years, he's grown up, he's seen other captains do it, then it's his turn. Noble was a remarkable captain. Somebody once said we would only really appreciate what Noble did for West Ham when he stops playing. And we're starting to see some of that now. We're starting to see the off-field influence coming through that Mark Noble had. And those are huge shoes to fit into. So, do I think Deck should carry on as captain? Yeah, actually I do. But under the caveat that he gets good support and things are put in place to make up the gap of Mark Noble leaving. Those are my thoughts. Take care, guys.
So, should Declan Rice be our captain? Yes, he should. No one criticised his captaincy last season or his leadership. Being team captain is different from being a club captain. You have an extra responsibility there, and maybe it may be too much for him as well at the moment. Also, he's just had a kid as well. So again, there's his personal life as well. For me, we've been under the stewardship of Mr. Noble for several years, and so there will be a transition period. in the same way that the squad is transitioning, in the same way that, you know, we've had the worst start since Pellegrini era. And so for me, I think it's important to maintain him as captain, of course, and all this will blow over. Bye.
Hello everyone, it's Jazz from the West Ham Minds channel answering the question, should Declan Rice remain our captain? Very easy answer, very simple answer, yes. The reason for that is there's absolutely no real competition for that role within our team and squad, which is one of the reasons our form is so terrible at the moment, really. I like our captain to be, either centre half or centre mid, preferably, which he is. But we've got to look for more leaders, and I would ideally like someone a good few years older than Rice to perform that role. You know, someone about 28, 29, 30, who's kind of been to a good few clubs, won a few things, and kind of knows how to pick the team up when things are not quite going their way as they are at the moment during the game, really. So Declan, I know he's had 1 or 2 years under the leadership of Noble. He's learnt a few things, I hope. But going forward, it just has to be him at the moment. Noble is no longer there to hold his hand. He has to sort this situation out, which is one of the captains, is raising the performance of the players if he can in the dressing room and on the pitch. For me, though, especially recruitment, we need more leaders, and then hopefully someone else can become that captain and perhaps take that extra responsibility off Declan. It might even help his game a bit more. He needs to just tone down a little bit on some of the things he's doing outside football, like a bit of media work. There might be a bit of distraction to him as well. So Declan has to be, because at the moment Fabianski's coming to the end of his career. Zuma's not quite vocal enough on the pitch. There's absolutely no one else. Creswell is just not performing well playing wise. I don't think that's a good selection criteria for a captain. So yes for now, but we need more leaders on the pitch, and ideally a slightly more senior person coming in, whether this window or the next window, and can look to be captain in a year or so's time, really. So come on, you Irons, take care. Rice to remain captain. Jazz from the West Ham Irons channel.
Thank you to the contributors on this particular topic. So just to give my thoughts real quick, should Declan Rice be the captain of West Ham United? I think that he is someone that has great leadership qualities. I think he's a role model. He should be a role model for people around him. He's an example. But exactly as Steve said, just because you're a great player doesn't necessarily mean that you are a great captain. He obviously had Mark Noble, who he's learnt his trade from as far as the captaincy role is concerned. Now he's not there to take some of the burden off of his shoulders. Stuart Pearce is also a factor in this, I suspect. I'm not going to judge Declan Rice too harshly at the moment. I think he deserves more than that. I think that it's incumbent, though, that we see a lot more from him on the pitch. Now, he needs to obviously get his focus back. Obviously, becoming a father is a big change in anyone's life. But we need to see, as West Ham fans, we need to see on the pitch some sort of change in emphasis, because at the minute, I think it's fair to say that when you look at the players on the pitch, when we go a goal down, it seems to be very much shoulders are slumped, heads are dropping a little bit. And we need to see someone really sort of bashing their fist and come on, geeing up the troops, you know. That's what you want to see. You want to see someone that's quite obviously dragging his team behind him, kicking and screaming into battle. And then there's the interview that he gave afterwards. Yes, Declan, I know we're not Man City, but we're playing Brighton and Hove Albion in our own stadium, and with 20 minutes to go, they're 2-0 up, they're spraying the ball around, their fans are going Olay. That's humiliating. That's not something that should sit well with the club captain. That's not something that should sit well with any professional, with any of the players on that pitch. Any of the people in the stands wouldn't have been happy with that. We don't expect to be competing for the league. We know that we're not a top 4 club when all's said and done, unless something very strange happens. We're probably a team that, for the last 2 years, in a lot of ways, we've probably, if we're being completely honest about it, we've probably batted above our average. Let's be completely honest. Top 6, then top 7. European competition 2 successive seasons in a row. Let's be honest, we don't have a pedigree of consecutive top 7 finishes in the top flight. We don't have a pedigree of consecutive European qualifications up to this point in our history. Maybe that will change going forwards, who knows? But we need to see something more from the club captain. He is the club captain now. Mark Noble is out of the door, and he needs to start stepping up to the plate. Although I do agree with Steve, I think that there needs to be some of the other senior pros in the dressing room, whether that's Aaron Cresswell, whether that's Lucas Fabianski, whether that's Angelo Ogbonna, Craig Dawson, all sort of like pitching in, and that Declan Rice doesn't have an ego about him where he's too proud to delegate certain responsibilities to the other members of what I would call the leadership group within the team. That's really important, because pride comes before a fall, and I think that Declan Rice is an absolutely brilliant player. I think he comes across as a really nice guy, and I want to see him succeed as a captain. I want to see him go on and captain England, but at the minute, as far as captaincy is concerned, it's not been a great start to his tenureship as sole club captain, and I want to see a bit of a turnaround, a little bit lively, and that needs to start. Really forget about the V-ball game. I'm not too worried about that, and obviously Declan won't be taking to the pitch in that because he's got a 2-match ban, but I want to see a big change in emphasis. I want to see more leadership on the pitch, obvious leadership that we can see, like what we saw under the days of Mark Noble, like what we would have seen for older people. Billy Bonds was an absolutely fantastic captain in his day, and you looked at him and he would run through brick walls, and his troops would follow likewise, because they absolutely believed in him as a captain. So that's what I need to see. That's what we need to see at Villa Park on Sunday. So here's hoping. Come on, you Irons.